world a favor. Pull your lip over your head and swallow.
Idiot.
Eat my shorts.
Go!
That is so peaceful. I could just listen to this all day. Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we are back at Pierce Brothers Westwood Memorial Park Cemetery in Los Angeles, California. This is per capita one of the most star-studded cemeteries. We've done quite a few videos from here, but today we're going to focus on two of my personal favorites. They were best friends, they did a lot of films on screen together, and they were just the funniest pair when you put them together, and that is Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau. Now, Jack Lemmon, to me, was one of the greatest actors there ever was. He was in so many good films, and he was great in comedy. He was great in dramatic roles. He won 2 Oscars. He won 5 Golden Globes, 2 Emmys. He was one of the most accomplished actors there ever was. And he actually is laid to rest not very far away from the funeral chapel right here, and this is where they had a lot of the funerals for a lot of these people here. And a lot of times there's people in here, so we don't always get a chance to see on the inside. But this is also where Kirk Douglas's funeral was. This is where Marilyn Monroe's funeral was. They actually wheeled her right out this way here. There's video footage of it from her funeral back in 1962. They wheeled her right out there, and where that white Jeep is, that was where the hearse picked her up and took her to where she is right over there. But going back to Jack Lemmon, he was known for Glengarry Glen Ross, Some Like It Hot, The Apartment, so many films with Walter Matthau, including Grumpy Old Men, Grumpier Old Men, The Fortune Cookie, The Odd Couple, one of Hollywood's most successful duos, and they were hilarious. But my personal favorite was probably one of the movies he doesn't get a lot of credit for, My Fellow Americans, with Dan Aykroyd and James Garner. He played a former president that was, they ended up getting stranded, and it's a hilarious movie if you've never seen it. But it's a very simple grave marker. It just says Jack Lemmon in. Now, Jack Lemmon passed away June 27th, 2001 at the age of 76. And he had bladder cancer. He was battling the disease for a few years before, but he kept that information private. Guests who attended his funeral included Billy Wilder, who's laid to rest just 2 plots down, Shirley MacLaine, Kevin Spacey, Gregory Peck, Kirk Douglas, Michael Douglas. Quite the event, but Jack Lemmon was very beloved in Hollywood, and his movies have really lasted the test of time. I mean, he was just a legendary actor, and he was... he had a very likable quality to him. You could resonate. His characters, they made sense. And, to me, Jack Lemmon was probably just one of the greatest actors we've ever had. But he had a long-standing friendship with Walter Matthau. The two of them did a lot of movies together. Grumpy Old Men and Grumpier Old Men, those were 2 of my favorites. And Burgess Meredith in that film was also great. But since we're in here, I should also show you some of his neighbors. Carol O'Connor is in the next plot over. And then writer, director Billy Wilder says, "I'm a writer, but then nobody's perfect." And if that isn't the perfect saying on a stone, I don't know what is. Then just inside here is Peter Falk, Columbo. It's September 16th, 1927 to June 23rd, 2011. I'm not here. I'm home with Shara. It's Peter Falk. Now we'll walk over and visit Walter Matthau. The cemetery is getting a little more crowded, so I will kind of tell you a little bit more information as we walk over there. But Walter Matthau was best friends with Jack Lemmon, on screen and off screen. He won 1 Oscar, 2 Tony Awards, and he served in the armed forces during World War II. It's kind of a little lesser known fact about him. but he was known for The Sunshine Boys, The Bad News Bears, Dennis the Menace, Charade. That was a 1963 film with Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn. Walter Matthau, he was a very heavy smoker throughout his life. He suffered a heart attack back in 1966. While he was filming The Fortune Cookie, underwent a heart bypass surgery in 1976. He suffered quite a few health issues, but he suffered another heart attack on June 30th of 2000 in his home and was transported to St. John's Medical Center in Santa Monica, and he was pronounced dead on July 1st, 2000. He was 79 years old. Cause of death was noted as a cardiac arrest with end-stage renal disease. This is the final resting place of Walter Matthau and his wife Carol. Walter, let me zoom in there so you can see it. Walter Matthau, October 1st, 1920 to July 1st, 2000. His wife Carol, September 11th, 1924 to July 21st, 2003. This guy was just hilarious. Dennis the Menace. I mean, he was in so many things. The original Morris, the Blade Buttermaker, and the Bad News Bears. I mean, Walter Matthau, he was one of those kind of guys that you saw him and he kind of reminded you of like maybe your crazy uncle or a grandpa, somebody that you loved to laugh with, somebody that you may have occasionally laughed at, but he always had such a genuine performance, and he was just one of Hollywood's legends. Walter Matthau. And if you're curious who he's laid to rest near, his next door neighbor is George C. Scott, known for Patton. He wanted his grave to remain unmarked, still unmarked to this day. And 2 plots down is Kirk Douglas, Hollywood legend, his wife Ann, and their son Eric. Their son Eric passed away in 2004. He was the first one to pass away. There are no birth and death dates for Kirk and Ann Douglas, so I'm not sure if this one's going to be a permanent grave marker or if this is just temporary. But since we're over here, I might as well also show you one more that I don't believe I've ever shown you on this channel, because up until a couple visits ago, I did not know he was here. And that is Carl Malden. Okay, the sun's really making that one difficult. Carl Malden, another legend in his own right. March 22nd, 1912 to July 1st, 2009. His loving husband, father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. His wife Mona, May 9th, 1917 to July 13th, 2019. Hers says loving wife, mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. Such a beautiful place. Now, hopefully you enjoyed this quick tour featuring 2 of my favorite Hollywood legends, and I think everybody would agree that they were both legends. Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau. If you haven't seen some of the films that they've done together, like The Odd Couple and Grumpy Old Men, I have a hard time believing that some people haven't seen them, but I know that there's a lot of people that haven't. If you haven't seen them, do yourself a favor, put aside a couple of hours and just watch a couple of those films. You will laugh and you will just really appreciate the chemistry that the 2 of those men had, not only on camera but off camera. If you saw some of the interviews, these 2 guys were actual friends off screen. They were 2 of the best friends, and the death hits you really hard when it's one of your close friends, and especially somebody that you've worked with in the business for so long. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments what your favorite Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau films were. And other than that, just thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Take care, everybody.